Now, in Kenya, real domestic growth contracted by 0.3% in 2020 compared to 5% growth in 2019. This is according to the annual economic survey 2021 released by the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics after a 4-month delay. Head of research at Genghis Capital, Churchill Ogutu, joins us right about now for more on this. Churchill, let me start from there. 4 months is what is the time it has taken them to compile this data. Why did it take so long?
Thanks, Arnold. A number of issues were mentioned to the delay of the publishing of 2020 GDP numbers. One is because of the disruption in COVID-19 that was there. So it led to some of their processes were derailed as that result. And then the other item is some of the sectors also delayed submitting in the data. So those two factors led to the delay in the submission of the 2020 GDP numbers. But having said that also, and one of the things that's outside those factors is the issue around rebasing. And looking at the fact that here we are 9 months into the next year, we are getting hold of the 2020 GDP numbers. That should have been met with a collective yawn, if not for the fact that we have a rebasing whereby they had to review even the base year, that they look at their records from 2009 to 2016. So that has been the interesting twist in the economic survey report that was published today.
Churchill, this leaves me a little bit confused. And why do I say I'm confused? There was the release of the national budget at the beginning of June for the new fiscal year, starting July and going until 2022 June. Does that mean the cabinet treasury there was flying blind with their estimations? And do we expect revisions?
Yes, to an extent, there's that matter of flying blind. The estimates that was being fronted by Treasury is that last year we had a growth of 0.6%, and then this year there's an expectation that will grow by 6%. So the numbers that have come last year, even in as much as it's on a rebased year, it has come to a negative 0.3%, obviously because of the COVID-19 fallout that played out for the better part of last year. So as we go on as the fiscal year rolls on, I think to a large extent we'll be able to see some slight revisions in the numbers that that the policymakers should look into. And a case in point is that looking at the revised and rebased numbers, specifically for year 2019, what was there as compared to the revised numbers is an increase of 5%. So that tells us even they'll have to revise even the nominal growth numbers, some GDP deflator, basically a factor at least to ensure that the base year is the 2016 base year as compared to the 2009 base year. So expect that there could be some slight revisions, but which will be penciled in during the budget policy statement that is slated to be published end of November.
Look, Churchill, we've often joked that it's a tight race between Kenya and Uganda when it comes to supplementary budgets. But how soon should we expect the cabinet secretary there, the cabinet treasury there, to release his first supplementary budget based off these numbers? And where do we expect the revisions to happen when it comes to the sexes?
Yeah, speaking of that, right now we are in the budget process for the next financial year. There's the draft budget review outlook paper that was put out last week. That had minimal changes in terms of even where we came from in the last financial year. The tax revenue was pretty much hit. So based on the draft review outlook paper, that penciled in a minimal supplementary budget in the current financial year. But having said that, I expect that perhaps more likely than not, the first supplementary budget could be towards the tail end of this year. We are seeing that the budget cycle for the next financial year is kind of clogged, unlike the previous financial years, because next year is an election year. The budget will be read in March, not in June, unlike the other East African nations. So I expect that because of the budget process has been more or less front-loaded with a couple of months. Expect even similarly, unlike the previous years, whereby the first supplementary usually comes around December or February the following year. This time around, we could even see it around November, thereabout, when the budget policy statement will be tabled. So that's my timeline that you could see either the supplementary budget being hinted or even being tabled in Parliament.
Going back to the statistics, Churchill, I see a major red flag, and that's something that the Kenyan economy has been strong at when compared to the rest of East African and Central Africa countries, and that's regarding manufacturing. There have been steps taken back. The balance of payment position when it comes to exports of goods there has greatly declined. To some, 3% is minimal, but if you are going closer to the 4% percentile for the country, then there are challenges. What else stood out for you there?
Well, looking at it broadly, in light against the background of the rebasing, one of the things that caught my eye is the issue about agriculture. Traditionally, agriculture accounts for roughly 30 to 35% share of the overall GDP. But because of the rebasing, they discovered that they used to overestimate some of the items under agricultural sectors. That is things to do with food production. So that has been scaled down. So right now we are seeing agriculture as a percentage of the overall GDP at around 23%. So that's a drastic 12% decline in the contribution of agriculture. A few movers you've seen issues such as transport and storage sectors having a significant share at 10%. And it's a no-brainer. What you've seen in the last couple of years, there's been the invent of, say, boda riders. So boda are the motorcycle riders that you see dotted in any urban or rural area in the city. And I urge you that the next time you come to Nairobi, take a visit, take a ride with the boda, Arnold. The other issue is also the issue we do with taxis using digital platforms. They were not there during the last rebasing year of 2009. They have been quite ubiquitous, not only in Kenya, but across the globe. Uber riders, such as Uber riders and other digital taxi platforms that are available. So that has led to an increase in the transport and storage sector as a share of the overall GDP. Other factor that has also been a beneficiary with the rebasing is ICT, information, communication, and technology, driven by the mobile money nexus that we've seen. So we've seen a bit of some changes in the structure of the economy that has been reflected with the rebasing of the GDP from 2009 to 2016. So that's one. Employment also last year, because of COVID-19, we saw a reduction in the employees in both the formal sector and the informal sector. Total, we saw a reduction of 700,000 jobs that reduced in the course of last year. Heavily skewed to the informal sector, whereby it lost 500,000 jobs. Some of the sectors in the informal sectors that lost their jobs are in the wholesale and retail sector, and also the tourism-related sectors. No surprise over there. So those are some of the things that really caught my eye in the overall reading of the economic survey.
Look,